quickly, India deserves a better prime minister for sure. We got to address this very important issue because 1.4 billion people here and 250 million students are here. 70% of the population don't have a very good healthcare system here, and we're not doing very good in the human development index and many areas. And so therefore definitely, as we are all glued to the TVs now, watching the war between India and Pakistan, my question is, why did this problem has been there for so many decades? Why isn't there a prime minister who is proactive, who has global connections so well that he was able to put this problem to an end some 30 years ago? Or any prime minister who came, even recently. This nation needs a leader who can, who is a global leader, who can get things done. And shame on us if there is a problem that is been lingering there for 50 years. 50 years is a long period of time. That's why I'm saying we need a better prime minister for India, who can get the thing done. Not somebody who is, who divides, but someone who can unite the entire nation. Not someone who only speaks Hindi or wants to be maintaining this, the image mantra kind of thing, or just want to do Man Ki Baat, but someone who listens to the grassroots of India, who doesn't avoid the press conferences, who is accountable and transparent in everything he does. India definitely need a more competent leader. And what is happening today is just exposing the shallowness of Indian prime ministers. I'm saying prime ministers because the blame had to be shifted on to every prime minister, I believe, who had ever ruled. Because you just can't have a problem for 50 years sitting there on your doorstep. And you can't be called a leader if you're having a problem like that. Sitting on your doorstep for 50 years. There could have been 1,000 ways that problem could have been solved. Even now, you don't need to become a global third world war kind of a situation. You don't need to let this problem become an advantage for these big shot countries like America and China. You understand? India need to be smart enough. India need to be smart enough to handle this problem and look at the maximum benefit comes to the neighboring countries. You can't change the neighbor. That's what Atal Bihari Vajpayee said, and he actually took a bus trip to Pakistan because see, on your doorstep, every neighbor is your enemy, then forget about the dream of becoming anything great. India can never do that, my friend. Having neighbors as your enemies. You can't do that. Just on your doorsteps you have neighbors. We need a leader who can turn, the foes into friends. Looks beyond, just, the past hurts and hurdles and all of that, but reaches out to, win-win for all kind of thing. Looks at the economics of both sides. Looks at the benefits for the both sides. Someone who can turn foes into friends. You see, India's population is 1.4 and US population is 300 million. And therefore you need a better leader than Trump. At least 5 times better than Trump. You see, that's the kind of leader India definitely deserves. Not someone who actually, doesn't even speak an English word, continually avoids press conference. And no, not that. You need a leader who connects with entire country. A leader who would, take the entire country with him. Not someone who avoids going to Manipur. That's not the leader. That's not the kind India requires now. You understand that? As I started off with statistics, 250 million students. with outdated curriculums, I was told. And their global ranking is so bad. Indian students globally. Understand? That's not someone. So you need someone who can actually fix that. You see, and not playing favoritism to some, big shots and shifting the projects to them. No, 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 no. You need a transparent prime minister who is working for every community. You see, because a leader can break or build a nation. Look at the leaders like Nelson Mandela, Abraham Lincoln, and Mr. Lee, who was there for 30 years building Singapore. Decisive leadership. My friend, that's the need of the hour. As we get ready for the next elections, my friend, I believe, it should be the end of this such leadership that had ruled India. Leaders who never had courage. Leaders who never rose above the problems. Leaders who, procrastinated solving the problem and kept a problem pending for 50 years. Man, if I was the leader, I could have been friends with Pakistan and China and would have done win-win for both. And they would have not even let my friendship go. That's the kind of leader you need, man. When you're trying to do something good for them, why would they want to fight a war with you on your borders? Simple common sense. Simple common sense. If I was the leader, I would be solving not just my problems, but also Chinese problem and Pakistan's problem. That's what friendship requires, my friend. So you understand that? When you offer to solve their problem, you see, a leader touches the heart before he asks for a hand. That's a leader. That's the kind of leaders India requires, my friend. He touches the heart of Pakistani people and then ask for a hand. You can't have enemies on your, you open a door, you can't talk to this side. You open a west door, you can talk to, that's what kind of country are you running, my friend? That's not a country, that's a survival. That's a trying to survive. That's primitive. That's not modern. That's not modern. You need a leader, as I said, who would solve the Chinese problem, going an extra mile and makes friendship with them. Friendship matters. You keep hearing Trump saying, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of mine. Because that's what a leader is. You understand? He's looking at the economics and building countries. And first and foremost, you want to build his country. Make America great again. That's possible. You understand that? That's possible. We need leaders like that. We need 5 times better than Trump kind of leaders here. If that guy could have gone to some 1,500 rallies and took a bullet almost to become a president of America, you need a leader. Someone who's so dedicated. Someone who's so focused. Someone who is so passionate about his country. See, that's the kind of leader. Someone who is ready to fix problems. Doesn't matter where they happen. Can you see the phone call that was done yesterday? And then came to a point of ceasefire with the India-Pakistan war. See, that's influence. See, that's powerful leadership. You understand? That's the kind of leader that India requires. My friend, someone who rises above any inferiority, someone who lifts up his head and ready to sort out the problem. As far as putting his nose into Greenland, try to do something there. Be friends there, between the countries. Someone who is a global leader is talking about global affairs. My friend, that's the kind of leader India requires. Understand? It's a shame. It's an absolute shameful thing. If you had problems being there past 50 years, that you had this problem sitting there and not solved. Not solved. My friend, it should take 1 week to solve that kind of problem without a war. I'm not talking about, sending missiles. That's never going to happen. Wars will never do any good for anybody. That's a primitive thought. Wars are outdated concept in this modern era. No country need to go to war now. Understand? You see, a problem like Kashmir, could have been solved in 1 week. Could have been, because that's the kind of, brains that are there, think tank that is there. Understand? But it takes a leader who will galvanize those leaders to a table and gets things done without just selfishness, but looks at win-win. Why wouldn't countries want to live in peace if there is a leader like that? Understand? So the point that I'm trying to make is, you see, India requires a better prime minister, 5 times better than Trump, because of population, quotations that are there. Much better than Mr. Lee, much better than Abraham Lincoln. You understand? With all these statistics that are there, with all these challenges that are there. You see, 65% of young people, India has 35 years age. Students committing suicide, jobs are not there, and farmers are at stake, and the caste system, there is discrimination, and this divisive. That's not a prime minister, man. A prime minister should be able to take everyone with him. Somebody who is concerned about impact, not concerned about his image. He got to be so charismatic. You understand? That he would be able to draw the leaders to him. You understand? World can be much better place. You see, when India has some, a leader like that, you see, problems are there to be solved. And Chinese problem can be solved. There is potential on the both sides. Look at 1.4 billion. You can't be fighting like two monkeys, man. That's never going to be anything. That's never going to be good for anything. You can't be doing that. That's primitive. You're looking at 2.8 billion population and looking at how both countries can, impact and grow economically. Okay? Understand, there's a lot more to cover on this, but that is the kind of leader. Another side, 250 million Pakistanis this side. It's a business potential there. How come you can be so blind, missing out potential that is there? Just for the piece of land, a problem that should take 1 week, 1 week to solve. People don't need to lose life. Understand? When you're talking about win-win, people will come to the table. Amen? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Let's see that India will achieve, or, India, let there be, race to the prime minister post by thousands of people so that we have a great prime minister from the next elections at least. Thank you so much. Thank you.